Not all ideas are good ideas, and not all projects are a success. Let's break down this failure and decide if it actually meets the definition of that word. I've had this steel opener floating around my desk for a couple of weeks. I decided I wanted to make something out of aluminum, and I had a couple of goals in mind. Number one, I wanted it to stand on end. Number two, I wanted to make a business end that was strong enough to take off the bottle caps without bending. Aluminum, not nearly as strong as steel. We get a lot of questions about cutting aluminum and other metals on the Pro and the 4. They absolutely are meant to do it. It's just a little less forgiving process than when you're cutting plastic or wood. For the design process, there were a couple of factors at play. One, I had a scrap block of aluminum. This meant that it was thicker than I needed, so I was going to have to cut away a substantial amount of aluminum. That's okay. It's always fun to watch the machine do that. Two, I get sick of working in the software. I'm in this to make stuff, to be down there cutting with the machine. I'm not in it to be on the computer for hours and hours tweaking a file to make sure that it's 100% perfect. So I headed down to the machine with some tool paths that I thought were going to work and just started cutting. The creation of this end went off without a hitch. The creation of this side was fine through the roughing. Then what happened was I came back for a finishing pass with a 1/4 inch 202 ball end mill. I had left 0.5 millimeters of stock here to be finished, but I did not set my step over properly. I set it to 1.5 millimeters. It should have been 0.15 millimeters. Consequently, the end mill, with the amount of stress that was on it, started coming out of the collet and dove further and further into the workpiece. Frantically pressing pause, I eventually got it to stop. That was the bad. Let's talk about the good. The good was the machine returned right back to zero. Despite all the stress, I simply chucked the bit back in and the machine was ready for action. It went right back into the workpiece. I reset my step over and it began finishing. That 0.15 step over provided something that was pretty decent. I've used it with a lot of success in plastic and in wood, but with metal, I think I still have a little bit of dialing in to do. Another win was the fact that the cutout is functional. It will take bottle caps off and it won't bend, it won't break. So that part I can take forward into my next project. Remember, I set out to have the block stand on its end. Okay, it does that. However, the moment this was cut out, I hated the design. It was terrible. And it brought me back to another project I had made a few years ago. I set out to make a wooden frame for some pictures. Got it all finished, set it down in front of me, and it looked like something I could have bought for 10 bucks at any big box store in America. It was terrible. So this happens. Sometimes you get a project done and you just hate it. Is this project a loss? Yes, it is. Is it a failure? No. Will I pursue another opportunity for victory because of this? Absolutely. I encourage you to think of your projects and explorations in this way. You'll find yourself pushing your skills and getting wins.